Susan Bole achieved unfathomable success following her sensational audition on Britain's Got Talent. She wasn't everyone's favorite at first, but her strong voice made all the difference. After winning America's Got Talent and amassing fortunes exceeding $45 million, she vanished. You can't tell a book by its cover. Susan Boyle is living proof of that. Her mother, Bridget Boyle, was a shorthand typist, and her father, Patrick Bole, was a miner in 1-2 and a singer. She was born on April 1, 1961. Susan was raised in a council house with 6 older sisters and 4 older brothers. The school in Susan's hometown of West Loy, Scotland, rejected her. Her love of music was her solace. She was a talented singer who enjoyed performing in the church choir and at community talent events. Susan rejected her mother's suggestion that she audition for Britain's Got Talent because she felt she was too old. Nonetheless, her appearance on the show was entertaining. Although Susan was unable to try out during the show's 2004 debut, she was able to do so in 2008 following her mother's death in 2007. Prior to this, she had never given a public performance. She had been caring for her ailing mother until she passed away. At the Glasgow leg of Britain's Got Talent, Susan's vocal rendition of I Dreamed a Dream astounded the judges and spectators. Amanda Holden still talks about how it was the most jarring realization she has ever had. Individuals belittling her due to her stunning beauty. Famous people began tweeting in her support after she became Susan Boyle, including Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher. She achieved global fame after her audition video became the most viewed video on YouTube. She dealt with issues promptly due to her beauty, even though she placed second in the competition. Along with the other contestants, Susan embarked on a tour to kick off her new career as an artist and began recording her debut album. Many were encouraged by her story, which demonstrated that one's dreams can be fulfilled at any age. I Dreamed a Dream, her debut album, was released in November 2009 and remains the fastest-selling debut album by a female artist ever, with over 2 million copies sold in its first week. It appeared like Susan's dream would never come true right from the start. Bridget, who had no means to support another child, gave birth to her youngest sibling at the age of 47. She had 6 older siblings, 4 brothers, and 6 sisters. Many people blamed Susan's learning disabilities on the oxygen deprivation she experienced during her nearly fatal delivery. She discovered something entirely new when she was at the pinnacle of her profession. Both students and teachers picked on Susan all the time, making school a miserable experience for her. She was forthright in her interview about the challenges of keeping up with a system that placed a premium on rapid learning and processing. She pointed out, "I'm a slow learner, I'm just a little slower at picking things up. A system that prioritizes your rapid advancement may leave you behind." I felt that way about it. When she was having problems in class, her teachers would spank her. Her school years were the most difficult of her life due to the constant bullying and name-calling she endured from her peers. Her personal development was stunted, and her academic performance suffered as a result of the physical punishment and bullying she endured. In spite of her tormentors' cruel treatment of her, Susan had a sneaky way of proving to them that they were mistaken by taking the stage on Britain's Got Talent. Her act was a delightful retaliation. In a later song that appeared on her debut album, she reminded her cruel bullies that she had succeeded despite their cruel treatment of her. However, she faced numerous challenges along the way. On top of the undiagnosed learning disorder, Susan revealed a tragic aspect of her childhood in 2011. She suffered from epilepsy. Susan had epilepsy, but neither her parents nor her teachers knew what to do about it. Despite the correct diagnosis, Susan's family and educators were unprepared to manage her epilepsy. Neil, Sir Elton John, and other artists have faced this challenge. It was a huge mistake to treat Susan's epilepsy, which affects young and Lil Wayne as well. She recalled how her bullies would use her frequent seizures as an excuse to pick on her at school. When she would doze off in class, her classmates would rush to her, taunt her, and make fun of her. Her parents would overprotect her at home, so the situation wasn't much better there either. They would abandon her to handle her seizures and any major problems on her own. Her father would label her touchy if she requested additional assistance. The majority of individuals failed to treat Susan's epilepsy because they incorrectly assumed it was related to her learning disabilities. It should come as no surprise that Susan graduated from high school with minimal qualifications. Susan claims that this, along with her undiagnosed learning disability, made it difficult for her to secure employment. She sent out numerous applications, but none of them were successful beyond the initial interview. Her 6-month stint as a trainee cook at West Lowen College was cut short by her constant job hopping. Without a steady income or permanent employment, she bounced around from one government training program to another. Performing at local venues brought her joy and solace despite these challenges. Before a devastating loss compelled her to pursue a dream she had never dared to before, despite the difficulties in her family life, that was the extent of her musical career. Forces of forgiveness and selflessness were important to Susan Bole. In her youth she was poor and unromantic. She famously declared on Britain's Got Talent, "Never been married, never been kissed." She was able to make significant life decisions following her father's death because she was modest and decent. She had a whole bunch of siblings, and they all got married and had families. They bid farewell to their elderly ailing mother and departed from their 4-bedroom council house. Just Susan and Pebbles, her 10-year-old cat, remained. Susan still enjoys the simplicity of her life as a famous musician who makes millions of dollars. She lives in the house she grew up in. After Susan's mom, Bridget Bole, passed away, it took 3 or 4 days before she would answer the door or the phone. Susan goes above and beyond as a volunteer by visiting the homes of the elderly members of her church congregation and singing in the choir. She is a practicing Roman Catholic. She revealed her mundane and unremarkable life prior to her fame in an episode of The Oprah Winfrey Show, airing in 2010. Susan received her diagnosis in 2012 within an interview with the BBC in December 2013. She revealed that she suffers from epilepsy and Asperger syndrome. Regarding online dating, she made a joke in November 2012, saying, "Knowing my luck, I'd go on a date and you'd find my limbs scattered around various Blackburn dustbins." To maintain Scotland's membership in the UK, Susan backed the Better Together movement in July 2013. According to her, "I am a proud patriotic Scot passionate about my heritage and country, but I am not a nationalist." Additionally, she stated, "We have retained our proud identity while being a part of Britain." Since her diagnosis of type 2 diabetes in June 2013, Susan has abstained from alcohol. Reports surfaced in November 2014, detailing her relationship with a man who frequently asserted his status as her initial romantic partner. The two were nearly of the same age. On June 4, 2023, following a Britain's Got Talent performance, she discussed her experience with a small stroke that she had in 2022. Why does Susan Bole still reside in the house she grew up in? Her stunning smile more than compensated for the scorn she received on Britain's Got Talent due to her lack of ostentatious attire. The global audience was captivated by the abrupt transition from distressing bullying scenes to her receiving a standing ovation prior, during and after her performance. In less than a week, Susan's audition video had over 100 million views. Additionally, compilations of her previous performances, such as her 1999 Crime a River performance, became extremely popular online. Susan performed admirably, despite being ill and exhausted throughout the performance. She placed second behind the diverse dance troupe. The government increased defense spending in response to public concerns, though, so she had won her life's most significant battle. The message that one should keep going for what they want in life, regardless of age, was a big takeaway from Susan's show. When it was released in November 2009, her debut album, I Dreamed a Dream, became one of the best-selling debut albums by a female artist, and became an immediate hit. Woman Perform. It shattered UK sales records and sold over 2 million copies in its first week worldwide. In terms of pre-orders on Amazon, it also became the top-selling album. There was no doubt about the album's success. I even had it with over 9 million copies sold. Dream became the best-selling album of all time in the year of its release. Its record-breaking first-week sales were reported by Billboard News. Even though Susan Boyle was just starting out as a female artist in 1991, SoundScan recorded her debut album. As a result of her breakthrough, she became the oldest person in UK debut album sales history, broke the record for fastest-selling debut album by a female artist, and set a new record for highest first-week sales. Her achievement was officially recognized by Guinness World Records. The world over, Susan's powerful voice and moving story resonated with audiences, particularly in the United States. She had a successful audition for America's Got Talent. The days of her being made fun of are over. Susan no longer felt threatened by her success, and she was proud of it. Being the protagonist was a great experience for Susan. Soon after the success of her debut album, she released two more singles, The Gift 2010 and Someone to Watch Over Me 2011. Returning in 2012 with Standing Ovation, The Greatest Songs from the Stage, a holiday album. She had a brief hiatus beforehand. Released 2 years later was her second studio album, The Gift. Susan, who was experiencing health issues and was getting on in years, decided to take an indefinite hiatus from making music. Despite widespread belief to the contrary, she shocked fans in 2019 by releasing an album commemorating a decade of her career, titled 10, which featured a compilation of her most beloved songs. She succeeded in the music industry, despite overwhelming odds once again. Even though Susan became famous in the music industry, she also experienced sadness as a result of her success. Her loyal following couldn't help but notice that despite her continued brilliance, she had undergone a dramatic transformation after hearing the devastating news. She has decided that she would rather be a recluse and avoid the limelight. After giving it some thought, Susan stated, "I had a lot of fun making the album, and I hope that the public likes it as much as I enjoyed it." Susan Boyle's success may have taken you by surprise, but get ready to have your assumptions about her journey shattered by devastating new information. Does your perception of Susan's storyline need to be altered by these new details? We will discover the long and arduous journey that brought Susan Boyle fame on Britain's Got Talent. Although her training regimen was exhausting, she was content with her singing. Her appearance on the show catapulted her into stardom, but she struggled to adapt to the constant barrage of interviews, photo opportunities, and criticism that came with it. Susan never won the show, despite the fact that her fame preceded her. The media attention she endured after the finale sent her to the hospital. She was physically weakening and had been exhausted for more than 5 weeks. It was later revealed that Susan had a nervous breakdown and resorted to attacking the show's manager because despite her talent, she failed to receive enough public votes. On set, rumors circulated that Susan had puked. Later that night, she screamed her disapproval of the show and hurled water at an employee. Her London home staff reported her to the authorities due to her unusual behavior. Susan required admission to a mental health facility a few hours subsequent to that. Quickly word got out about her breakdown, and it came to light that the creators of the fact that Susan was in poor mental and physical health leading up to the final was ignored by Britain's Got Talent. After considering whether the show prioritized ratings over the health of its participants, Ofcom, the UK's media regulator, decided to shelve the plan to launch an investigation. Susan should have been more cautious with her music schedule after this, but she had a jam-packed tour schedule ahead of her. Regardless, she performed an excellent job for her listeners while she was recording music. A setback in her professional life in 2013, upon receiving the accurate diagnosis of her learning difference. Contrary to popular belief, the singer did not suffer from any actual brain damage. Rather, she was earlier misdiagnosed with Asperger's, a form of autism spectrum disorder. It was a mixed bag of emotions to hear such tragic news. Susan had believed for a long time that a minor birth defect had left her crippled. She felt she had been unlucky throughout her school years. However, she was able to get the assistance she required following her diagnosis of Asperger's. Susan was interviewed by her legal guardian. The fact that the label brain damaged had a lasting negative impact on her self-esteem. She understood that she was human like everyone else, but that her unique approach to problems necessitated a different approach. For her part, she wished that the public would be more accepting of neurodiverse individuals after hearing her diagnosis. After the have believe, people will treat me better, since they will know me and my motivations better. While many famous people try to hide their true selves from the public eye, Susan was universally lauded for doing the exact opposite. It got worse. In the same year, Susan had to give up both her love of chocolate and her only VI. Despite the timing of the diagnosis, things became more challenging after she learned she had type 2 diabetes.